What's up, everybody? It's your boy Jrod, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Oh, that was a tongue twister. All right. Sorry about the lighting. If I turn it off, it looks like this, so I'm just gonna keep it on. But anyways, today I'm gonna be talking about my overall first experience living in the Dominican Republic. What was that like? The whole shebang. Because a lot of people do tend to ask, like, hey, how did you feel, coming to live in a foreign country? What was it like? Was you excited? Was you scared? Did you throw up? Y'all want to know all of that. So today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you in detail from the time I left my house all the way to getting to the airport and arriving into Santo Domingo. So that's what I'm going to do in today's video. But like I said, before I start this video, just give it a thumbs up and a like, or that's the same thing. Go ahead and like and subscribe and we can get started. Okay, I switched the lighting up a little bit because it got a little bit hazy. This is going to be a flashback in time. This took like, place almost 3 years ago? Yeah, 3 years ago. So, yeah, we're just going to get started with it, all right? All right, so the big day. I remember I was just going down the freeway, blasting my Dembo music all through Atlanta, just like, hey, like, it's lit. I'm about to be in the DR. I'm about to live in the DR. I was just super, super excited. And I remember I was making all these little Snapchat videos and stuff like that. And, my crazy self, I ended up packing last minute, as always. So I was packing last minute. And, me, this is my first time living in a foreign country. So I just packed a whole bunch of stuff, like way more than what I needed. So, imagine trying to put all your closet into like 2 bags. I had a check bag and then I had my carry-on bag. So, yeah, I definitely put way too many clothes in there. And, yeah, so this was like around 5 a.m. I did not go to sleep. I remember that I did not go to sleep. So, because I was just up packing, I was like super, super excited. And I was a little bit nervous, a little bit just kind of anxious because, I'm about to be living in the DR. So I ended up leaving my house around 5 a.m. to go to the airport, do the check-in, TSA, all that stuff. And it was funny when they went to weigh my bags. I actually had so much clothes in my luggage that I had to like take some out and put them in my book bag. So that was kind of funny, just trying to like shuffle all the stuff around. But I did make it work. But yeah, I went through TSA. I was scheduled to get to the Dominican Republic at 2 p.m. that same day because this was 5 a.m. So I was scheduled to get to the DR at 2 p.m. and I was gonna have a layover in Fort Lauderdale. But that totally did not go the way as planned because I made the decision to fly with this particular airline, Spirit Airlines. Now, I don't have no problem with Spirit Airlines personally, okay, but this experience, for it to be my first experience ever with Spirit, it was just really, really bad. And yeah, that was the first time I ever flown with Spirit. And the reason why I chose Spirit is because I just, me being a college kid, I saw the price. It was for a summer flight, and I was like, bro, like, this is cheap. Like, I definitely got to take this. So I ended up taking a Spirit flight. Probably shouldn't have done that, but it is what it is. But yeah, so terrible experience with Spirit. Long story short, I was supposed to ride to the DR at 2 p.m., but I did not get there until 1 a.m. because the whole day they had like screwed over the flight. And I'll kind of skip through this, but basically they had delayed my flight like 15 times, and then I had to go to the kiosk to get a new flight. So they had to transfer me to JetBlue because they ain't have no more flights for that day. They tried to keep me in Atlanta for like another 24 hours because they didn't have, it was something with like the cabin crew and the pilot, like they didn't have enough crew members or something like that. So they were trying to keep me in Atlanta for an extra 24 hours. I was like, nah, fam, I gotta get on this flight today. So it was just all this madness and confusion running through the airport, and getting on the train. It was crazy. It was crazy. I might do a separate story time just specifically for that. But yeah, so I ended up getting on a JetBlue flight that had transferred me over. And then, but they told me that the only problem was I was gonna have a 6-hour layover in Orlando. So just imagine waiting in the airport for 6 hours and you already hyped. You've been hyped since 5 a.m. in the morning, and then they tell you like, oh, you're gonna be waiting in the airport for like an extra 6 hours. So I was pretty bummed out about that. And that was the longest 6 hours of my life. And then finally, like around 10:30, it became nighttime, and so we boarded the plane. And this was in Orlando, and then I was on my way to Santo Domingo. On the plane, I was the only English speaker on there, so I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, we landed in Santo Domingo finally at 1 a.m. in the morning. And I was just like, damn, like I'm really here in the Dominican Republic. Like, this is crazy. I remember just feeling like, I just had like anxiety. I don't know, like I just felt like, damn, like, because I've been binge watching hella YouTube videos for like this whole time leading up to the DR. And so it's just like when I got there, I was like, yo, this feels like a dream, bro. So I was going through the airport, go through customs. Customs was super, super easy. Lady thought I was Dominican or Dominican American, so she didn't ask me anything. She was just like, "Pontudero aquí, pasaporte y bienvenidos," like, you know, welcome home. She didn't ask me nothing. Then I get to the carousel where you get the luggage. Now this is when things start to get a little bit crazy. So like I was looking around for my suitcase. I didn't see it. I was like, bro, like what's going on? And it had been like 20 minutes had gone by, and I saw other people getting their luggage, and I was just kind of freaking out, like, bro, like what if my luggage is still in Florida? Because, you know, what if they transfer my luggage to the wrong plane? And so I was kind of like thinking like, bro, I don't see my luggage. So I pulled out my phone trying to like call up the airline. I was like, bro, like or the airport, sorry. I was like, I know it's going to be a long shot for them to pick up the phone because it's like 1 a.m. And then I realized I didn't even have service. So then by the time I was doing all that, they turned the carousel back on, and then a couple of more bags came out, and I found my bag, and I was like, whew. Okay, I got my luggage. Like we good. All right, so walking out to the airport. So I go through one more little checkpoint with customs or whatever, and then I'm walking down this ramp. Now, if you ever been in the Santo Domingo airport, it's this ramp where like all the I guess the loved ones kind of congregate, and they welcome like all the people who are getting off the plane. Well, all the people that was walking down the ramp, they had all their family members like waiting there for them and screaming like, oh my goodness, like I missed you, blah, blah, blah. And then me, I'm just walking down, my tall American ass with my suitcase, you know, people were just kind of staring at me. I just was like, bro, why are all these people staring at me, you know? And I was like, do I look American? You know, I just thought that it was just weird that everybody was just staring hella hard, but that's what it felt like. It just felt like, you know, walking down the red carpet, and I was just by myself, so that was kind of awkward. Then I get to the corner, so I get off the ramp, and then the person who I was staying with, she had actually sent me the address, and she told me to use Uber. That's what she told me. She's like, just use Uber, and she said type in the address, it'll take you directly to the house. So that was the plan. Well, the problem was it was 1 a.m., so I was supposed to buy internet for my phone. Couldn't do that because everything was closed. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. So I pulled out my cell phone. I was like, let me just see if I can do it with the airport Wi-Fi. And it was working, but then it asked me for like a verification because apparently because I was in a different country using Uber, they wanted me to verify who I was. And so they said they were going to send me a text message. Well, the problem is when you send a text message, they sent the message saying like data and message rates may apply or something like that. That's why I needed the SIM card or whatever, but I couldn't get it. So I was like, you know what, screw this. I'm just gonna have to take a taxi. And at the front, like at the very, very front, it was like a bunch of guys in yellow shirts. I remember it. And I was trying to like avoid them. I didn't want them to notice, but they was looking, they obviously knew I was from America because the way I was looking, I just looked completely lost. So as they saw me kind of creeping over to the exit, they all just bombarded me. And it was like, taxi, 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 taxi. So it was just like all these guys like surrounding me. It was like 10 of them. I promise you, it was like 10 of them. They were just all up in my face like, taxi, taxi, taxi. I was like, hey, yo, chill, chill, chill. Like, let me try to figure out where I'm at because I don't even know where the house is and the location in the neighborhood. So I'm like, wait a minute, fam. Like, let me get myself together. You know, like the paparazzi, like that's what it felt like. Just everybody just kind of surrounding you. So finally they had backed off, and then it was like 2 of them that led me to a taxi, and one had put my luggage in the trunk, and then he asked for a tip, and I didn't even have pesos at the time because I couldn't even convert my money over. I still had American dollars, so I gave him like a little $5 tip, and then I hopped up in the car. So we in the car, and the dude is asking me like, hey, yo, like where's the address, where you trying to go? And he told me he didn't know where it was. I was like, oh damn, like this is crazy. So I ended up going back in my WhatsApp history to find out the owner's phone number or the people who I was gonna be living with. So for those who don't know, when I was in the Dominican Republic, I was living with a YouTuber and her husband. Her name is Nibby Speaks. Some of you guys might know who she is, but she was previously making videos in the Dominican Republic and doing life in the DR. She was actually the one who had put me on to the Dominican Republic, and I met her at a meet and greet in Atlanta, and she was the one who inspired me to go to the DR. And when I was looking for a place to stay in the DR, I quickly remembered that she lived there. So I sent her a message. I was like, hey, do you think I could stay with you? And she's like, yeah, like, come on down. So like, that's how I ended up being able to live with her. Well, the problem was Nibby wasn't actually there because a month before I was supposed to go out to the DR, her house had burned down because she had a house in the States. And the reason why she was in the States is because she was having her baby. And her husband is Haitian, right? The husband stays in the DR, but she was in the United States at the time having the baby because I think something like the citizenship and all that. So that's why she had left the DR for a couple of months to have the baby. But yeah, her entire house burned down, so she lost her passport, you know, everything, every single thing. She actually wasn't in the Dominican Republic when I arrived because she was still handling all the stuff with like the insurance company and all that because, you know, her house had burned down in the States. So her husband was the one that was actually going to be taking care of me for my first few weeks in the DR because she was still back in the States handling business. So I find Wilner's phone number and I give it to the taxi driver, and, you know, we're driving through Santo Domingo and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. It's really, really dark outside. And, you know, nobody speaks English because at the time I wasn't fluent in Spanish yet. This was like when I first came to the DR, because when I first came to the DR, my Spanish, it was, I would say like an intermediate, high intermediate level. It wasn't fluent at the time. I didn't get fluent until when I started living, I guess you could say like towards the end of my time in the DR and when I had moved to Spain. When I was living in Spain, that's when I really got fluent in Spanish. So at the time, my Spanish, it was still a little bit shaky. So like the dude, he couldn't speak English. And I was like, bro, I'm in this foreign country. You know, it's 1 a.m. in the morning. There's no lights. You know, like I was just kind of like getting nervous and I didn't know where I was. And that was the whole reason why I wanted to land at 2 p.m. during the daylight, you know, so I could see everything, but I couldn't see anything. So finally, by the grace of God, Wilner picks up the phone, and I don't know how. Like, it was truly a miracle because, like I said, this dude was expecting me at 2 p.m., but he was up for some reason. So he had got on the phone and had guided the taxi driver to where we needed to go.
Saliendo del aeropuerto, él me dice que para el supermercado. ¿Dónde doblo?
And then we pulled up to the neighborhood, and then he just appeared out of nowhere into the street and led him to the house. And I got out the car, gave the taxi driver the money, that was an expensive ass taxi ride, okay? I think I spent like $40 for that one. Yeah, that was kind of, compared to what I would have paid on Uber, it would have been way cheaper. So little tip, if you're trying to leave the airport to go to your hotel or wherever you're trying to stay in the Dominican Republic, try to do it with Uber because them taxis, bro, like that was way too much money. Okay, so yeah, so we get to the house and Nibby, she lives on like the 4th floor. So I was lugging up all my luggage, bro. Like I was so tired that day because I just been traveling all day and sitting in airports and stuff. So I just remember carrying that heavy ass luggage with all my clothes, you know, to the very, very top floor. So we get into the apartment because they stay in an apartment complex. So we get into the apartment. He kind of shows me around like the bathroom, all that stuff. And then he shows me to the bedroom. And then after that, I don't remember anything. The last thing I remember is I just crashed, you know, so I went head first, straight to the bed. And then I even kept my clothes on. Like that's how, when I tell you, that's how sleepy I was. Like I didn't even take my shoes off. Okay, like I had on my hoodie. I still had on my hat. I still had on my shoes, my pants, like everything. Like I didn't even take off anything. That's how sleepy I was. So I ended up crashing immediately. And you got to remember, I had all this hype and excitement at 5 a.m. in the morning. And then it was like by the time I got to the Dominican Republic at 1 a.m., it was like I was just ready to go to bed. I couldn't even feel excited anymore. Next day, so I remember the first thing in the morning, I heard the roosters chirping. And I was like, damn, like I'm really in the Dominican Republic. Like this shit is awesome, bro. So the first thing I did was go to La Serena. That's actually like a grocery store. It's like a Walmart, basically. And Wilner, he took me because Wilner, he's a moto driver. So that's what he does to make money. He takes people around on his moto. So he said, hey, I'm going to take you to the grocery store. We're going to get some food. I'm like, bet. So I get on the motorcycle. This is my first motorcycle ride in Dominican Republic. I had rode a motorcycle before in the United States, but I don't really remember it because it was when I was younger. But so you could say this was like my first official motorcycle ride because I actually remember this one. So getting on the moto, going through the neighborhood, and I remember I saw like people in the streets, and what else did I see? Oh, I remember I saw a whole bunch of dogs. I was like, damn, like it's so many dogs in the Dominican Republic, just like so many stray dogs. And on the motorcycle, it was kind of scary at first because, you know, they kind of drive a little bit crazy. This is my first time really experiencing what it was like riding on a moto in the DR. And so they drive onto oncoming traffic sometimes. So Wilner, he'll be driving onto oncoming traffic and be doing zigzags and circles and all that stuff. So that was pretty cool. I recorded a little bit of it. So yeah, so we get to La Serena. I go into La Serena and I'm just putting in boatloads of food into the cart. I don't even care about how much money I'm spending. I didn't even know how to convert the money at that time. So I'm putting so much stuff in this cart, not even caring. Don't even know how to convert pesos to dollars. So I'm just putting all this stuff in my cart. And I remember when we went to go pay for it, the lady, she had told me the total, but I didn't even know how to count the money. So she had kind of got an attitude with me and she was like, how do you not know how to count the money? That's why I explained to her, I was like, I'm a foreigner. I was like, this is my first time here. I don't know nothing about the DR. And then everybody in the line started laughing and they were like, oh shit. Like the lady thought he was Dominican. So that was the first time when someone thought I was Dominican in the Dominican Republic. Well, you can say the airport too. The airport, the lady thought that too. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. She had an attitude. But you know, once I explained it to her, she was like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. And then, you know, everything was cool. Oh, one more thing I forgot. I skipped over something. So yeah, he asked, was I hungry? So the first food that I ever had in Dominican Republic was mango. Now the problem was this mango was absolutely trash, okay? And mango is my favorite food in the Dominican Republic. Between mango and sancocho, those are like my top two. So this mango was terrible, bro. In the La Serena, they kind of have like a deli area, kind of like how you would in Walmart where they cook the food and stuff. So I guess this mango in particular, it had been sitting out because it was like right at the time where they're about to transition from breakfast to lunch. So we kind of had got the leftovers. But I remember when I ate it, I was just like, damn, is this what everybody was talking about that was just so good? Because like I said, I had been watching YouTube videos, just binge watching the DR, and everybody kept saying, you gotta try mango, you gotta try mango. And bro, I bit into that mango. I was like, this is trash, man. Like, it didn't have no flavor. It didn't have no seasoning. Like, it was bad. But I still ate it because I was really, really hungry. And so we ended up eating that actually at the crib. So yeah, we ate that at the house. But yeah, that was my first experience with mango. But later that night, I did eat some mango off the street. And it was a total 100. It was like 1,000. I was like the best, probably some of the best mango I ever had in my life. Still to this day, I haven't found a place. And I wish I remembered the spot because it wasn't an actual restaurant. It was kind of like somebody had like a little cart and they were making it. So it seemed like it was homemade. But bro, that mango was so damn good. But the stuff in La Serena, I don't know what that was. So let's talk about the Spanish. So everybody seems to ask me like, how did you adjust to the Dominican Republic Spanish? So I already told you coming into the DR, my Spanish was like a high intermediate level. I had already known a lot of it. Yeah, I was like really close to advanced. You say like high intermediate advanced or whatever. So I already knew a lot of Spanish. It's just like I couldn't like, you know, speak fluently at the time. So living in the house with Wilner, the Haitian guy, man, if they could create a sitcom with how we interacted with each other, that would probably be the funniest TV show in the world because, bruh, it was the struggle trying to understand him. Now, what you have to understand is that Wilner is Haitian, right? So Spanish is his second language. I'm from America, so English is my first language and Spanish would be my second language over there. So we were both trying to communicate in our second language. Now, the problem with Wilner was that he's Haitian, so he has like a really, really, really thick Haitian accent. So like imagine a Chinese person trying to speak English, but like with a really, really thick accent. Well, that's how it was with Wilner when he spoke Spanish. His Spanish just had like a super, super thick Haitian accent. So me trying to understand him and then combined with my terrible Spanish at the time, it was just like, bro, like, it just felt like we was playing charades in the house for the first couple of weeks. And it did get easier eventually, but like in the first couple of weeks, it was crazy. So I would literally be texting Nibby, because she was back in the States, her Wilner's wife. And I'll be like, bro, can you please translate and tell me what your husband is saying? Like, I don't get what he's saying or whatever. And we had one incident where like it went on for like a couple of days, but he got mad at me. Well, he didn't get mad at me, but he was trying to tell me something about the gas. He was like, bro, like I need money for the gas. And you see, the thing is, Warner is a moto driver, and every time he takes me to the store, I always pay him the money because, you know, that's just the right thing to do. And I always tip him really good. You know, every time he takes me somewhere, I always pay him really well. Well, for like this day in particular, he just kept complaining about the gas. He was like, yo, I need money for the gas. And he was saying it in a way that I just wasn't understanding like what he was talking about. And so this was going on for like a couple of days. And I was like, what you mean you need gas? Like, I paid you and I gave you like a big ass tip, you know, like I tipped him like $20. I was like, bro, like what you talking about? Like, I'm always giving you, you know, the money for you taking me places. And so I finally get on the phone with Nibby. I'm like, bro, can you please explain to me like what Wilner is talking about? So finally she talks to him, and then she just starts laughing on the phone. And I'm like, what is it? She was like, he's talking about the gas in the kitchen. I was like, what? She was like, apparently you had cooked and you left the stove on, and so like all the gas, it went out because they have a gas stove. And the problem with the stove, it was like they had stickers on there where they can tell you if the stove was on or off, but like one of the stickers was kind of scratched off, so I couldn't tell if I had turned the stove all the way off. Like I thought it was off, but apparently I left it on, so that would have been extremely bad, bro. Like we could have blew up the house. She would have had a house that was burned down in America and in the Dominican Republic. So thank God the house didn't burn down, because that would have been crazy. But yeah, apparently like I didn't turn the stove off all the way, and I thought I did, so all the gas had went out. And Wilner was saying like, I need money for gas. I was like, oh, that gas. I'm like, damn. And we was going on for like 2 or 3 days about this. And so yeah, so those would be like little things that we had struggles with, like trying to communicate with each other. And then sometimes we'll do like the Google Translate thing, so like he'll speak into the phone, but that was kind of bad too, because like the voice diction, it wouldn't pick up his words. And so, you know, he'll be trying to tell me something, and then it'll like translate to English like, I feel like the North Pole, or just something crazy, and then you have to try to guess and figure out like what he's saying. So yeah, like the first couple of weeks trying to adjust to the Spanish, it was a little bit challenging, I'm not gonna lie. But then just even being with my friends, for the first few weeks in the DR, I ain't had no friends, but I started to go out a lot more, and I started to become friends with a lot of people. But hanging out with those Dominicans, they didn't speak English, so every interaction, every day I'll hang out with these people, it would just always be in Spanish. And that's why I learned so quickly, because all the people who I hung out with only spoke Spanish. Nobody spoke English. So I low-key kind of had like a panic attack. I don't want to say a panic attack, because that sounds a little bit dramatic, but I did have a moment where I just kind of had like a little breakdown. I was like, bruh, I don't want to speak Spanish no more. Like, I'm getting tired of this. I just want to speak English with somebody. I was like, is there like a brother or sister out there from the States that I can just like link up with? And, you know, we can just, because here's the thing, you would meet some people that knew English, but it would be so bad to the point where it's like you have to almost dumb down your vocabulary. Or I don't want to say dumb down, but simplify your vocabulary to the point where it's just almost easier for y'all just to speak in Spanish, you know? So it wasn't like a real cohesive, natural English conversation. But and I know people are probably like, ain't that the whole point of you being in the DR? Like, you know, to get the Spanish down. But I'm not gonna lie, bro, like I got tired. I did get tired. And so sometimes I'll just call my family, like I'll call my mom or my sister, you know, just get on the phone with them, talk to them for a couple of hours just so I could speak English, because, bro, I'm telling you, bro, I was not speaking English at all. And that's why I feel like I learned so quickly, because I was not surrounded by American people. Bro, the whole time with me living in the DR, I wasn't friends with any American people. I didn't even see any American people, because I was living in like a neighborhood. So it was away from like all the tourists, you know, type of places. So I didn't come in contact with any American people. So I remember one time we was leaving the subway with my friend. We were going to Agora Mall, or Agora, however you pronounce it, whatever. Yeah, we was going to the mall, and it was at nighttime, I remember this. And I heard this girl speaking English, and immediately my ears just kind of like went up, and I was like, English speaker. I was like, oh my God, it's an English speaker. And I heard her speaking. I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, where you from? I was like, you from the United States? And she looked at me and she was like, no. And I was like, oh my bad, I'm sorry. It's just like your English. And she was like, I was practicing English with my boyfriend, because like we like to practice. And it was just like really awkward. And then the dude comes out in front of her and is like, she has a boyfriend. Like he just kind of like steps in front of her. I'm like, damn, player. I'm like, all right, chill out. Like, I'm not trying to take your girl shit. Like, I just was happy. But bro, that's how crazy it was, because I hadn't spoken English to anybody or met like another American to like speak English with. So like when I heard her speaking English with like the perfect American accent, because her English sounded like she was from America, I had got really excited. But it was kind of embarrassing, because the dude thought I was trying to get with his girl, but it wasn't like that. So yeah, I would say that's how I kind of was outside the house. Now within the house, I did kind of feel bad with Wilner. Every time he wanted to speak to me, I low-key think dude probably thought I was antisocial, but that's not what the case was. But I would notice he would want to speak to me, but like I just did not have the words to speak to him, and it just was really hard to like have a conversation with him, because like I said, his accent was just super strong. Now with other Dominicans, it was easier, but with him, his accent was just like really, really strong. So like when he would try to like come and talk to me, I would just kind of freeze up and get quiet because I wouldn't know what to say. So I don't know. I kind of feel bad because maybe he thought like I was being a little bit antisocial, but that's not what it was. And sometimes he would like come and sit and like I'll be in the bedroom and then he would like sit in the doorway and you could tell like he wanted to start a conversation with me, but like I just didn't have the words or the vocabulary at that point to be able to talk to him. So I did feel a little bit bad. So sorry, Wilner. He did fix me breakfast in bed sometimes, and that was cool. And the thing is, because you know, in the States, don't nobody care about if you didn't eat or not. It's almost like if I tell somebody I didn't eat, it's just like, all right, like go fix your own food. Every man for himself. But like, no, he was real chill. Like he actually would make breakfast in the morning and stuff. And even the neighbors, you know, they'll make breakfast for me and stuff like that. So, like. I noticed that about the DR, like in the culture down there, like everybody's real friendly and like food is important. You know how to throw down in that kitchen, okay? Shout out to Negrito Grande. It's another YouTuber. I think he lives in Mexico, but he tried Wilner's breakfast. Bro, I'm telling you, he tried the food too. He said the same thing. Like, I don't know, like some in them seasonings, but like he knew how to cook. So yeah. The food was pretty good. Speaking of food, another funny story. So one time I was trying to order pizza, Domino's pizza, but I was doing it on the computer. So, you know, I logged in the computer, put in my order for some pizza. I was being a lazy bum that day. I didn't feel like going to get no food or whatever. So I was just like, let me just order some Domino's. But so maybe 15 minutes later, I get a phone call on my Maquito. It's like a little phone like this. And I call it like my Dominican trap phone. But yeah, basically... They called me on my Maquito and they're like, hey, yo, like we see you put in the order, but you don't got no address. Now, the thing about the Dominican Republic is most of the homes down there don't have like an actual official address. It's just kind of like based off the street number. So, you know, it's not like the United States, how you have like an address with a mailbox and all that. It's not like that. So I was on the phone trying to explain to them. And by the way, if you have ever spoken to a Dominican on the phone, you already know that they speak 20 times faster on the phone than they do in person. So I would say at this point, I had kind of gotten used to speaking to Dominicans. But anyways, they were going back and forth with me saying like, oh, we need an address. And I was like, bro, it ain't no address. I'm like, that's why I put in the description box, the color of the building, blah, 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 all this stuff. They over here passing the phone around to like 4 different people. And they all get on the phone with me. And I'm telling them the same thing. I'm like, bro, it ain't no address. Then finally they're like, okay, well, is there an owner there, somebody who lives there so they can like tell us where it's at? And then I was looking for Wilner. Of course, Wilner's nowhere to be found. So then I went to the neighbor below us and they weren't nowhere to be found. So I'm like, damn, like I'm literally like the only person there. So I was like, no. So then they hung up the phone in my face and I'm like, well, damn. So then I was just sitting on the bed. I was like, well, maybe I should just call him back. So I ended up calling him back. I'm like, hey, this is the gringo, blah, blah, blah. And then they hung up the phone again. So I'm like, I guess I'm not getting pizza. So, you know, I started putting on my shoes, putting on my clothes. I'm headed out the door. So as I'm walking down, maybe like 15 minutes had passed after they hung up. So as I'm walking down the steps, I noticed like a motorcycle is coming by and it has like the Domino symbol in the back of it. And I'm like, oh, that's the Domino's. So I run down the stairs and I get my flashlight and I'm waving it in the street. I'm like, hey, like I'm here. Like, Aki. Like, you know, I'm telling them to come to where I'm at, and then he pulls up and then he hands me the pizza and he doesn't even mention anything. He acts like nothing happens and I pay him the money or whatever, and then 2 minutes later Wilner walks up and I'm like, damn, like where were you? So yeah, that was pretty funny trying to order pizza. That was a hot mess. Yeah, I would say overall my first impressions of Dominican Republic is that one, it was huge. I didn't expect it to be so big. I was like, damn, like the DR is actually like a really big island despite how it looks on the map. Of course, another obvious one was seeing people of my complexion who spoke Spanish because where I grew up, it was just like Mexican people. So that was a shock to me. And a lot of them were shocked when I spoke English because like I would go to some of the hoods and the barrios and then they wouldn't even believe me. Like I remember it was this one group of people, they didn't even believe me that I was from America. And I kept telling them like, yo, I'm from America. And they wouldn't even believe me. Like, and bro, I remember we went into Guachapita. It's like a really, really dangerous hood. And I remember like everybody stopped their game. It was like a group of guys, they were playing dominoes. They had stopped their game and then it was a bunch of little kids like kind of following us. And they were like recording me, putting me on Snapchat. It was like, say something in English, say something in English. And then I said something in English. I think I was like, what do you want me to say? And then they'll like mimic me back and they'll be like, what do you want to say? like they were kind of making fun of my English when I spoke English, and I was like, whoa, that's a first. Like, I'd never seen that where people make fun of the way I speak English. But you know, I was in a different country, so I thought that was pretty funny that everybody was real surprised about that. But yeah, I'll say overall, like my first initial impressions were really cool. It was very humbling down there. Like, I really think the people are really humble for the most part. The people who I was with, you know, it was cool to see like a different way of life, I guess. Taking cold showers, that was something different. Yeah, then taking them showers, that was crazy, because that water is way too cold, but you get used to it after a while. In the neighborhood I was in, they do have hot water in the Dominican Republic, but the neighborhood that I was in, it wasn't. We just used like the little bowl thing, so I'm used to it now, like it's nothing. But yeah, getting fluent in Spanish, shout out to the DR. Definitely the DR helped me achieve like my goal with that, and Spain too, because I was living in Spain. I'll say those two countries is like what helped me, because I know people keep asking me like how did I become fluent. So yeah, it definitely helped with that. But it's kind of like a memory lane for me, because like I said, this happened like 3 years ago, so I do get a little sad thinking about it. That's the one thing I'll say. I wish sometimes I could go back in time and like relive what that was like for me, to experience it all over again, like from the very beginning. I don't know, there's just like a high that I keep chasing. It's like, I'm never gonna get that back. It's like, damn, I'm really never gonna like experience that again for the first time, you know, because it's already not happened. But yeah, and I have different story times on my channel for individual events that happen. So, you know, if you want to see some crazy experiences, I do have different story times on my channel or whatever. But guys, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. All right, peace.